This is the primal scream of a dying regime.
Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Thursday, 23rd of July, Anno Domini 2026. Harnwell here at the helm. I love it when we open the show with a cracker, and we've got a cracker today. Ryan Bridge, co-founder of Raise the Colours, increasingly known on social media in the UK as Ryan, the Lion. Ryan, very grateful for you taking time out. I know you're in the car on the way, always working, always. You never stop. Thanks for coming in on the show. There's so much to discuss since you were on just a few weeks ago. Let's go straight into this. Let's start up, if we will, with the Sheffield story, your Sheffield chapter. 6 arrests there. We've got some footage that will play in the background as you're talking. The more you guys are doing, the more you're getting arrested and persecuted by the authorities. What happened up in the north of England earlier on this week?
Yeah, so as you can see, Harnwell, how you doing, guys? As you can see, this is another branch of our Raise the Colours movement that's across the UK. Ryan Rampage and the guys up at Sheffield Raise the Colours. I wasn't at this event, as obviously I'd have been in the thick of this, but they was up there and they've ran an event. It's gone off twice really peacefully. And then all of a sudden, because Antifa turn up, yet again, the police turn up in their numbers and they see us being the right-minded side of the fence as the aggressors. And it's completely not that way. There's obviously, you can see disabled people there. You can see women, children, people with flags. And then you see the masked left. You see them come in with their flags, with their banners. And the main thing is, Harman, is their faces are covered. So they're covering up something from start to finish. And I just think the left, the police and the authorities need to get a grip on the left in this country.
I want to point out what the police said in their statement. This is Superintendent Bloxham. Charlotte Bloxham, and she says, "We respect the rights of everyone to take part in lawful and peaceful protests, but we will not tolerate criminality or antisocial behaviour." Interesting putting these two things on the same plane, criminality and antisocial behaviour. It's increasingly difficult to know what country the UK is anymore. It seems to have, like, Iran was famous for having morality police. What on earth is going on in my beloved homeland if the police now have to arrest people for antisocial behaviour? And what on earth is that even supposed to mean?
I mean, it is shocking, Armand. You think you was in North Korea or China, but you are actually in Sheffield, the steel city, the capital of steel industry in the country. These are men. You had the miners' strikes up there. You had all of these, and these are the children of those people, and they are out on the streets because they are not happy with people from a third world coming into our country illegally, breaking in and being in these hotels. And that's the bottom line of it. They're showing patriotism, they're showing togetherness, they're showing unity, and all they're doing is walking down the street. And let me explain how it works in the UK. You have liaison officers. So the people that organise this under the Raise the Colours movement will have to liaise with officers for at least 2 weeks before, be told where they can go, what their march route is, where they can stand. So these liaison officers know the route. Why don't they clear the ultra-far left off those routes? Why don't they go in aggressively with the ultra-far left? Why is it centred it's us that's always targeted? Why am I banned from France? Why am I banned from going to Oxford to put a flag up, for example? This is because the ultra-far left run the high positions in our country. And that's why people from third world countries are coming through illegally, because they're allowed to. It's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. And we at Raise the Colours are all going to get together and we're going to stop this. And we won't stop protesting and we won't stop raising our beautiful flag. And, you know, it hurts me that 6 got arrested, but, you know, I'm on separate charges at the moment for things that are completely stupid. I mean, attempting to pull somebody's hair, putting a flag on a lamppost where you're not meant to, and the police will arrest you for this. Yet people are breaking into our country on mega dinghies today. These people have come in, 165 come in this morning on one boat. They called it a mega dinghy, and they've come across the channel. And this taxi boat has gone up and down the shores of France, picking these people up, and they've come in. And the bottom line is, people in Sheffield don't want them in the hotels. It's making people scared, feel alarmed, distress. And these are men, by the way. These aren't women and children. These are men from third world countries, from different background to us. We don't know who they are, what their backgrounds are, and what they've got. And you know, I just say to the people up in Sheffield, keep going, and we will come up there, and we will be supporting you ever more.
Tell me more about these rubber mega dinghies.
Yeah, so it's been named by another news outlet today as an ultra mega dinghy. So these are the dinghies that I intercepted in France would carry between 80 and 100 men. The dinghies that I stopped in France in November through the first wave of Raise the Colours movements. Then I went to Ramsgate in the south of England, where we seen that the MCS and the British Border Force security, I mean, this is laughable, they were escorting the dinghies from the 12-mile line, doing an exchange and handover from the French. And what they do then is they escort and bring the dinghies into a place called Ramsgate, which is a little seaside village on the coast of England by Dover. And I went there and exposed that these dinghies are still blown up, and the life vests are in one tub, and you know the belongings are in another. And this should be evidence. It should be evidence. And what we want to do at Raise the Colours now, we want to up the game, and we want to look at taking on the government, the previous, the next one, the one going forward, whatever the governments might be. But we believe that if people are coming in 80 and 100 handed, if we seized their phones and confiscated their phones, we believe that we would have a common denaming, a phone number in that phone, which would be the person that says, get on that dinghy at that time in the middle of the night. And that's when they come to the UK in the early morning. So why aren't their phones being seized as evidence? So that's what we're going to look to do. But getting back to the point of what you said about the mega dinghies, today, these dinghies that have come are that big that they are carrying up to 165 people. We've had the first 2 hit the shores of the UK this morning. So I'm absolutely devastated. I'm devastated that I'm banned from France. And the fight goes on, and we will not stop.
Do you you don't have any video footage yet of you and your associates going down to the coast to stop these mega dinghies? Not as yet.
Not as yet, because what's happening to fellow patriots around the country, if you go to areas like Dover, they will say this is a restricted area, and the government body will film you, and then they will come and kick your door off at whatever time in the morning and arrest you for interfering with government work. And that's what I had in France. When the French Interior Minister, Nunes, seen that I was in France exposing this invasion that's been going on for the last 20 years. When I exposed this, I got 10 trips out of it before I was then served with papers from our Home Office and Shabana Mahmood. And she said, there's the papers. You're not allowed to go to France. And I said, well, I've never been arrested. I've never been convicted. I've been detained in France, but I haven't done anything wrong. I'm only reporting citizen journalism. So that's where we're at with that, Ben. And it's just heartbreaking.
You just made an appeal earlier on. I'm going to repeat it again. If you want people to get involved, for you to assist in whatever way is possible, inverted commas, in brackets, legally possible, they should reach out to you. We'll give your details. We'll give out your details, as we always do, in about 10, 15 minutes. I want to come back to something you said just before I give a shout out to our show sponsor. The beaches, as far as I know, were public property. how can the government stop you going onto a public beach on the south of England?
Well, let me explain how this happens, because people that don't know, they think that these dinghies are chancing it across the channel and literally drifting up and landing on the beaches at Dover. That is not the case. The case is that the illegal invader that is probably from South Sudan, Eritrea, Somalia, they will come through, circumnavigate through Africa, through Europe, and they are guided all the way through these countries, not via sat-nav, not via satellite, but guided by people called NGOs, non-government organisations, the charities from the left that bring them across, and they'll get them to Calais, and then they will escort them to the dinghies. Once those people are on these dinghies, or these mega-ultra dinghies that they're now going on, once they're in the water, the French maritime law states that they are not allowed to interfere. They are only there to guide and assist if anyone falls off the boat. And these people know this law and they know this loophole. So they then will go forward and they are guided to the 12-mile line where the English Channel meets from the French side to the English side. And lo and behold, every single time, the 57,000 people done it last year, our British Border Security Force and the RNI lifeboats are waiting there to pick them up. And then we escort them through into the Dover dockyards and into a cordoned area where they get off, and these people are screened and took to a hotel, a 4 or 5 star hotel in the UK. In some places, there's some camps now, there's 1,200 men in there, and it's completely ludicrous. These aren't chancers that are just zipping across and landing on a beach. These are people that are cleverly doing it through the left, through NGOs, and getting to that 12-mile line, and they are escorted in, Ben.
I need to underline this point here that you're saying, because I think there are some naive people still left of goodwill who believe that these are people who are chancing it and trying to come in. And as you point out, it's an industry first by the supervised by these. And I would suspect government-funded NGOs, one way or another. I'd say they're getting money, taxpayers' money. It's being funneled into them, and then, of course, via the respective maritime services. And you said they're bringing them into specially cordoned off areas once they get to the UK in Dover. So this is not, they're just not breaking out onto the beach where you can film them and you can intervene. These people are guided safely in where they are sort of onto effectively government property where they will stop you. You mentioned Eritrea just now, that people are coming. We didn't have time for this. We're gonna do it today. There's no time. We have footage of an Eritrean illegal invader knocking a woman who'd outside a nightclub unconscious simply because she refused his advances, and he was sentenced to a few months. You guys are getting more risk from what you're doing, putting up flags from raising the colours, putting up flags on what they're now calling public architecture, and going down to film the invasion. You guys are running a far greater risk than what the invaders themselves are doing when they're coming in, raping and pillaging. Ryan, the Lion Bridge, back with you in 2 minutes after this quick shout out to show sponsor, as always, Birch Gold. Birch Gold have been celebrating, as we all know, in a particular way, the America's 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. And if it wasn't for such a strong foundation set by the framers, where would America be today? Hamilton built America's financial foundation on the principle of sound, stable money, a principle later embodied by the gold standard. However, America abandoned that discipline in 1971 under Richard Nixon, when he famously closed the gold window. And since then, inflation has been eroding at a colossal rate the dollar's value. It's a perfect opportunity, therefore, to ask ourselves, what is the foundation of our own savings? Is it gold or something that can be shaken, disrupted, devalued, or I might even dare add confiscated, as Roosevelt did when he made the private ownership of gold illegal? Has happened in America's history. Happened once, it might happen again. Birch Gold Group has been helping Americans solidify their savings with gold for the past 15 years, and they'll help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold. Right now, folks, you might be aware that gold has climbed down a bit over the last couple of months from its high of $4,500 per ounce down to about $4,000. All analysts are expecting it to start escalating once again. You might want to get in on that escalator, on that conveyor belt before that presumed rise starts to take place. Text Bannon, BANNON, to 989898. Speak to Philip Patrick and his team. Ask them about what they think. They're the experts. Ask them what they think is going to happen to the price of gold. Tell them your circumstances and ask them for their advice on what you should do right now. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with a Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. So let Birch Gold help you build your foundation with gold. Text once again Bannon, BANNON, to 989898, and I will give that number out again at the end of the show. All right, so Ryan, moving on then. Second story I want to talk to you about is our friends over at Oxfordshire Council. They're coming after your money, right? After when you had your Crown Court appearance a month or so ago, we left it in to be resolved over how much they were going to seek or what they were going to do. They now said officially that they're going to come after you to cover their legal expenses. Is there any movement on that?
Yeah, so let me just explain to the viewers. This is the Royal High Court of Justice. So this is higher than magistrate in the UK. It's higher than Crown. It's like the Royal. This is where like companies like, I don't know, if you wanted to take Amazon to court, or this is where Princess Diana took the newspapers to court. This is like the ultra high court. And Oxfordshire County Council had little old me from Raise the Colours in there to put an injunction on me to oppose me raising the flag of our country in the county of Oxfordshire. They currently banned me from the whole of Oxfordshire. I'm literally only allowed to go through there for travel purposes to commute through. So it really is like China or North Korea. It really, really is. It's absolutely ludicrous. But we fight on, as I say, and, you know, these people have thrown figures in the air like it's cost them £100,000 to deliver flag removals with road closures and all these health and safety type, you know, lefty woke things that we have in this country. Yet, if you're from the third world, you can just jump on a dinghy and come across and it's not a problem. So it's completely two-tier. It is laughable, Ben. And yet, you know, the bill is, I think the bill's £90,000. So they're saying, so, you know, good luck on getting that one. I don't know what I'll do. I'll have to go back to, I don't know.
I think you're going to be coming on the war room, passing the hat round.
Yeah, exactly.
If and when that eventually takes place. Look, what I find particularly interesting about this, and I will ask you now if you'd be kind enough perhaps next week to come on, because we have so much, literally since you won about 3 or 4 weeks ago after the Crown Court appearance, so much with Raise the Colours has happened. There is one development, however, which I am absolutely astonished about. And you mentioned Oxfordshire County Council, whose leader, Councillor Bearder, is a Liberal Democrat. And he's the one who's saying, you know, we've got to recoup our legal expenses from Ryan Bridge and company. I want to say what they're going to have a difficulty, I think, making these arguments now as the courts assess costs. And I'll tell you why. Because over the border in neighbouring Buckinghamshire, the leader of their councillor, who's not a Liberal Democrat, who's a Tory, Councillor Broadbent, has spoken in the clearest terms possible, basically, in your liberty to, in your liberty. What he's saying is, we're going to wait and see if there is health and safety issues of people raising the flag. We're very proud of the Union flag, colloquially known as the Union Jack. We're very proud of the Union flag, St. George's flag. And he said, we absolutely will not spend a single penny of taxpayers' money pulling these flags down. So whilst he's not saying to you, okay, Ryan, please come in and cover the place in flags, he's made it absolutely clear to his electorate, to his citizens, to his voters in neighbouring Buckinghamshire Council that they don't have a problem with what you're doing. He's even criticised neighbouring Oxford Council, saying that they've gone over the top on this and it's pretty much a discretionary reaction to what they're doing. Now, if you're armed with this statement from Buckinghamshire, you go to court, you say, here you are, Your Honour, have a look at this. I think it will actually show that what Oxfordshire, and even though they won their court case, largely, I think, in part to your own magnanimity in sort of agreeing to the compromise that you would no longer raise flags within Oxfordshire itself. I actually wonder now, as they assessed costs, whether the public position of neighbouring Buckinghamshire Council should come into play. I just want to add, before giving the word back over to you, where you mentioned earlier that you're no longer allowed in Oxfordshire. You have done one of the biggest boss manoeuvres I've ever seen, and that is, okay, so fine, I'm not going to go into Oxfordshire Council to raise the flags. So all along the borders of Oxfordshire County, technically not in Oxfordshire County, along the border, confronting them, you've raised one flag after another. Yes. Which I think that really is the Churchillian fighting spirit. But tell me about this, because this cost thing, they're obviously going to try and drive you into bankruptcy here. Tell me about, as much as you can, what your strategy is now when you're going to go in here as costs are discussed.
It seems that the charges I'm on and the court cases and the hearings that I'm on, it seems that the system and me having to get lawyers and law firms and people to defend me and people to look over paperwork, that is the real punishment, because the crime is laughable and the crime is absolutely, a laughing stock, really, to think that it's brought to court. And I feel that the punishment is the actual rigmarole going through it. And I feel that they do it to put certain people off, perhaps that have got young families, perhaps that are, law-abiding citizens that are just worried that they don't want to be under the court or under scrutiny. And that's the worry. And for me, I'm not worried, and I will stand up for the people and I will put my neck on the line. And I'm in a very fortunate position that, my partner and my children, know that this is my life and this is my passion, and know that I won't stop. And I'm very fortunate that I'm in a position within my business where I'm the boss, and I get a million emails off lefties every day saying, this guy works for you, and we say, yeah, we think he's brilliant. So they're attacking my work left, right and centre. But the issue of what they do, because they're in such high places, these people from the left, I feel it's a scare tactic, and I feel that I would like to know the bill of who has funded the case in Oxford to take it to the High Court, because the council will not disclose how much it's actually cost. Now, I heard that when I was in court, there was a few multimillionaires in that courtroom as well. So maybe one of those it's me presuming, but if they're going to try and slap the removals bill on me as well, I think that would be most unfair for the amount of times that we were physically there and for the amount of flags we've put up. Regarding Buckinghamshire and other areas like this, I just think it's excellent. And we have asked this week, and I'm literally ending a family break to go back, and I'll be in my office tomorrow with other people from Raise the Colours, and we are going to be sending 25 Union flags and 25 St George's in a bundle to 38 people all around the country that have asked for flags, and we're going to be sending them there. So we do need donations to come back in to replenish, and we are going to be making this a bigger and bigger and bigger stage. And we don't want to do it in areas to intimidate people. This is nothing to do with race, colour, creed, religion. It's to do with raising the colours of our flag in our country to show that we are together. I've just spent 5 days down at the coast in the UK, and all the seaside towns I've been to has got bunting, red, white and blue, Union Jack bunting, the flag of our country's everywhere. And nobody is saying that any of those people are fascists, Nazis, far right or anything like that. This should be how it is in the inner cities. And for some reason it's not.
Well, we know that, for some reason, for some mysterious, unknown reason.
Yeah.
All right, so once again, tell us about where people on social media can go. If they might want to help on the stopping the boats, the mega dinghies aspect of things, they might want to help putting the flags up in their county. Yeah. They might want to organise something like your team are doing up in Sheffield, in another area that perhaps isn't quite so visible at the moment. They want to take a leadership role. How do they reach out to you to pledge their support in whatever means they are able to do so?
I need to make quite clear, I cannot encourage anybody to flag in Oxford. It's part of my conditions. So do not put a flag up in Oxford, even the rainbow flag or the Palestinian or any other person. But you can find us at raisethecolours.org.uk and raisethecolorsofficial.com for your merchandise. Really appreciate that. It's raisethecolours.org.uk. Top right-hand corner is the donate button, and we'd be glad for you to help us. Thanks so much, guys.
Do you ship merchandise to the States?
100%.
Great. All right. Come back. We'll see if we get you back on next week. Ryan the Lion Bridge, many thanks indeed for taking time out and joining us this evening. Folks, stand by. Back in 2 minutes after this short commercial break.
America's Voice family.
Are you on Getter yet? No?
What are you waiting for?
It's free.
It's uncensored, and it's where all the biggest voices in conservative media are speaking out.
Download the Getter app right now. It's totally free. It's where I put up exclusively all of my content 24 hours a day. You want to know what Steve Bannon's thinking? Go to Getter.
That's right. You can follow all of your favorites. Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Jack Posobiec,
and so many more.
Download the Getter app now.
Sign up for free and be part of the movement.
Welcome back. Well, my next guest on the show, I've been trying to get him on the show for quite some time. Probably the most well-connected American I know in German politics, Collin Mcmahon. Welcome on to the show. You've got this article out right now came out today in Gateway Pundit, and I'll flag that up now so people can go out, get it, read it, study it for themselves. It's a litany of horror stories here that you've described quite well. And if I didn't know you, I would think, oh, come on, this guy's exaggerating slightly here. Basically, what the situation is in Germany, and there's no exaggeration whatsoever, as we approach the elections in September, the certain German states, for example, Lower Saxony, have passed laws at the local state level allowing the state election boards to prohibit from standing for election anybody, but we're talking AfD here, anybody, on whatever grounds they want to cite, as long as they say, we think this person is disloyal to the Constitution. From what I have sort of studied on my research, there appears to be no due process in this, no serious appeal worthy of the name. And this is happening in not just any old country, but in one of arguably the most important country of the European Union, which, if you see how it was bashing Hungary over the head constantly for what it said were democratic norms, abuses. The silence coming from Brussels is literally deafening. Collin, tell the War Room Posse in your own words exactly what is taking place in Germany. And we'll talk about the polls in the second half of this interview. because the momentum is clearly behind the AFD. You can see that the political establishment is melting down. Tell us in your words exactly what these election boards are empowered to, and what they are doing right now.
Well, you can see from that photo I included on the Gateway Pundit article, that's an actual photo from the board meeting of the election board in Lower Saxony, in Friesland, is the county where they're voting. They're just taking a show of hands to say, oh, we think this guy can't run because we think he's a radical. And this is Martin Sichert, who took the photo, who's an actual member of the Bundestag, an actual member of Congress, basically. So these teachers and whatever school moms are deciding that this member of parliament is somehow not loyal to the Constitution and doesn't deserve to run for office. And of course, they're all representatives of the established parties. So what's going on here is basically what they call it is a ban on the party through the back door. That is, for years they've been talking about banning the AFD because it's just becoming more and more powerful. And now they've decided that they don't have enough evidence to do that. They came up with a 1,000-page dossier last year, put together by the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution, as they call it. It's basically the secret political police, like the Gestapo or the Stasi used to be. Now they call themselves Democrats, but what they're doing is surveilling the opposition. And they keep an eye on people like me as well, I found out. But they found out they really don't have enough evidence because they just came up with a bunch of tweets, and that was their dossier. And all the legal scholars just tore it apart and said this is ridiculous because you really need to go to the Supreme Court to ban a party.
So let's just zoom out one moment. The original plan, and we did cover this on the War Room quite some time, the original plan was just to prescribe totally the alternative for Deutschland, the AFD, just to ban it completely and say that it was a far-right party and a threat to the Constitution. The problem with that was that there was no evidence. The secret police, after doing all the intimidation, all the surveillance, they actually came up with no real evidence to back up that claim. So they came up with 1,000 pages
of yes.
Of nothing. So if the strategy was to suppress by law the AFD from standing in the election, that strategy was obviously going to fail. So they reeled back and said, okay, so we need to, perhaps we'll do it on a state-by-state basis, but we will have these election boards and we'll let them simple vote by show of hands, and as you had the photo there. And we'll just do a simple majority vote and say this: we think this person is disloyal to the Constitution, whatever that might mean. And then they're banned. And in your article, the guy that you just were mentioning, Martin Sichert, you said, just for our American audience, you say he's a member of the Bundestag. That is the lower parliament, the lower house in the German parliament in Berlin. So this is a sitting member of parliament, like equivalent to a member of the House of Representatives, who was prohibited from standing for a local office in his home state by this show, by this kangaroo court, basically. I want to go on. Similar pretexts were found to block, and you cover all of this in your article out today on Gateway Pundit. Reinhild Goes, who was standing to be the mayor in her local town, banned. We covered this on the show last year. Joachim Powell, who was standing to be mayor of his town, was blocked because of his, I can't say this with a straight face, but the pretext was necessary. And the pretext was the evidence that he was disloyal to the Constitution, where they literally produced tweets that he'd put out supporting Lord of the Rings. And as I say, Germany is not just some peripheral country. It is a key member of the most... It's the largest population, largest economy in the European Union. The most fundamental nation of the European Union. And we're looking here at the collapse in democracy in real time. And amazingly, the paladins of democracy, Ursula von der Leyen and company in Brussels are literally, they're not saying a word. Have they made a single intervention on this, Collin Mcmahon?
No, they're on the other side, of course. They're on the side of the oppressors, of course. Yeah.
It is a silence that is particularly deafening. To repeat, the blocking of several billion euros worth of funding to Hungary when Viktor Orban was prime minister for their trumped up notions that he was dissolving democracy. And ironically, and we're going to be hitting this again on tomorrow's show, the new prime minister Peter Magyar is using the same laws that Viktor Orban had to do exactly what Viktor Orban was doing. And again, silence from Brussels, silence from Ursula von der Leyen.
Of course, yeah. And the AFD will basically have to start at the bottom of the court system. They're going to first have to file an official complaint with the election authorities in each district where a candidate gets banned. And then if that is rejected, then they'll have to go to the lower district courts and then keep filing lawsuits until maybe all the way up to the Supreme Court. And of course, the elections are coming up the 13th of September in Lower Saxony, 20th in Saxony-Anhalt, I think. And those are elections in East Germany where the AfD actually stands to win a majority in 2 states. So they're really desperate to do everything they can to stop it before that happens.
Let's just talk about what's going to happen now. We'll go around state by state in a moment. I'll give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Before I do that, you mentioned in your article that our friend Beatrix von Storch went over to America last year and spoke about precisely the collapse in democracy and her angle was on the part of a key NATO ally. Let me just ask you, as an American, as someone who knows Beatrix von Storch very well, have you guys had any response from the White House on these abuses, the anti-AFD positioning on behalf of the state following that meeting?
Well, they're certainly aware of what's going on. I know Sarah Rogers is in Europe regularly on behalf of the State Department. And Beatrix told me today that she again alerted the White House in her contact in Congress to what's going on now in Lower Saxony, and they'll be very interested in that. Of course, in the Republican Party, they're also very worried about the midterms. So everybody's very worried about charges of interfering in German democracy, of course. So they'll probably be using the back channels more than the public sphere. But who knows? Donald Trump could go to Truth Social any moment now and make a fuss about this as well.
All right, let's come back and hit the elections. Just first of all, quick shout out once again to Birch Gold. I gave out the details in the first half of the show. Philip Patrick and his team, worldwide experts on investing with gold right now, and definitely given the extremely competitive price of gold, someone you should be speaking to. Birch Gold, of course, has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and countless 5-star reviews. So let Birch Gold help build your foundations of financial security with gold, that historic hedge against uncertainty. Text Bannon, BANNON, to 989898. Once again, Bannon, BANNON, to 989898. All right, back with Collin Mcmahon. Collin, today I notice a poll out in Germany, which for the first time today puts the AfD at the top of the polls in Berlin. I think on 29% or something like that. And that's also sort of pretty much pegging the national average of the AfD right now. Tell me something then as we move towards the election season in Germany, state by state, if you wouldn't mind, what you're looking at and what you would suggest Americans should be looking at in terms of some specific key AfD victories up in September.
Well, the key one is going to be in East Germany. East Germany has always been a bastion of the AfD. It was a bastion of COVID resistance. People just know how to resist there since they brought the Berlin Wall down in 1989. They have revolution in their bones. And they're just used to marching on Mondays. That's what they did in 1989. And they just like to go out and march on Mondays. That's part of their heritage now. So during COVID, they were all marching on Mondays through Leipzig and towns like that. And now it's against migration. We remember the Pegida rallies in East Germany, in Dresden. And now it's really become the bastion of the AfD. They're up at 40 and over 40% in states like Saxony-Anhalt, which will be voting in September. And they have a really, really strong candidate, a young guy named Ulrich Siegmund, I think, who really combines a lot of really good qualities. He's charismatic as well as thoughtful. He could go a long way. The AfD right now is kind of struggling with their double leadership. They have this double party chair with Alice Weidel and Tina Kupala, and they're kind of yin and yang. They kind of complement each other, but that leads to a lot of friction as well. She's a lawyer, a blonde lesbian with a business background, kind of Hayek, Vienna School economist, and he's a down-home East German bricklayer, I think, who ran a company and is hands-on, is always in touch with the party and the party base. So they kind of complement each other, and they kind of trip each other up sometimes too, it seems. So at some point, the AfD will have to figure out whether they're going left or right, who their leader is going to be. That will be the big next step. But right now in September, we're probably going to see a landslide in Saxony-Anhalt and maybe in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern as well.
Just on that point about the future direction of the AfD, we covered this on the show last week. There's some talk coming out of the media. I don't know how present this is within the AfD movement itself, but there was some talk, especially I think following the convention in Erfurt a couple of weeks ago, that the AfD might follow a line of what's being called in the press Melonification, which is following Giorgia Meloni's rush to the centre after winning election, and just moderating across the board the party platform. What's your view on those dynamics? Have you heard anything about it? Do you have anything to urge to the? Well, the
AfD has always been a gang of 50,000 crazy people. I mean, to live in a country where Antifa rolls the streets and risk losing your job, having your car torched, is takes a special kind of person. It takes a special kind of crazy sometimes. And so there's always been this dynamic of pulling to the left or pulling to the right. That's served the party fairly well at the moment. For a while there, it was really bad. They were all just at war with each other. And Alice Weidel and Tina Kupala have really kind of put a lid on that. There's really no more infighting. At the last party convention you mentioned in Erfurt, they were highly organized, highly disciplined. They carried through their party. These grassroots democratic party meetings they used to just be a shambles, just chaos often. And now they conducted a really disciplined party convention. They even got up so early that Antifa couldn't block the convention. They had thousands and thousands of black masked militants out on the street, but they don't get up so early. So the AfD people were all there in the convention center by the time the Antifa people even woke up to their alarm clocks. So that went off really well. That was a really good sign for the cohesion in the party. And I don't think there's much danger of a real split right now.
But on the point of Melonification itself, where are you on that suggestion?
Well, the AfD has always had these kind of internal splits. Like a lot of the East Germans, they were born in socialism, and they kind of like Marine Le Pen. A lot of these European right-wingers are actually kind of socialist, So there's that especially East German kind of socialist wing. And then there's the Vienna School, Hayek, economic people who are more free market oriented. And that's something the party will have to work out in the wash when they finally get into power. They'll have to kind of figure out whether they're socialists or whether they're free market capitalists.
You're absolutely correct that Marine Le Pen is on the left on every metric apart from the invasion. Marine Le Pen is on the left of the political spectrum. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not a socialist myself, but it is the invasion which is the litmus test, I think, right now in politics. And it's important to be on the right side of that in the debate. The other things can sort themselves out later if you still have a country. Just on this issue, because we've got like about a minute and a half left, tell me something about Sarah Wagenknecht, who's on the left, but she's a bit of a sovereigntist, anti-immigration as well. How does the Social Democratic Party respond to her brand of? She's a bit. I mean, you know, seeing as we're talking about Marine Le Pen, I think there's a sort of overlap. Is that would that be fair? Is my reading just polluted too much on that from being a foreigner not living in Germany, or would you say that she'd be a good analogue, Sarah Wagenknecht, of Marine Le Pen's policy platform?
Yeah, she has a lot of overlap with the East German AfD, for instance. And they have been talking about forming coalitions. I think she's a communist, you know. I try to stay away from people like that. And her party has failed, really. They haven't really gained any traction. It's the left, the original former East German Communist Party, which is called the Left Party, which has gained traction because they have an appealing social media influencer kind of lady who's making the young kids go crazy. I don't think Sarah Wagenknecht is really going to be an issue much longer. The next big elections roll along, and she'll probably be history.
Because I think I think she's below the threshold, isn't she? About 3.5% or something.
Nationally, in East Germany, she may score some points, but not in the West.
Right, and the left wing party that you just mentioned would be Die Linke, right?
Die Linke, yes, exactly. They're the actual heirs of the actual East German Communist Party.
Right. Okay. Collin Mcmahon, as I say, I've been wanting to get you on the show for quite some time. It's very fortuitous that we got you on today, the day this article came out. And I very strongly recommend, we'll see if we get that out on social media so people can see it. Where do people go more generally on social media to keep up with your analysis and observations?
I'm on X under Collin with 2 L's, FR Mcmahon. There you go.
And what's the handle?
Collin FR McMahon.
There you go. Fantastic. Collin, very grateful. Come back, keep us abreast. I think you will be coming back as we head ever so more closely to these September elections. We've got to be watching them. To get the voice out as well in the United States to take in the White House, to take serious attention to what's going on in Germany right now. My thanks. See you back at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thanks to Will at Real America's Voice for holding the show together. God bless for now.